Coach Kenni Burns, Kent State hosts Ball State this Saturday, noon. Coach, if you want to make an opening statement,
sure.
We'll take questions afterwards.
Yeah. Obviously, starting with the bye week, a lot of things to address over the bye week, which we worked on. Several things. And first, we worked on really just how do we get better from three areas, from a schematical area, first and foremost, then a technical area, just making sure our technique's what it needs to be. And then also just personnel, evaluating all the personnel and seeing when we're falling short in those three areas and how we can get better. I thought the coaches did a great job of diving into that and working extremely hard this week as we drove into really a major self-scout of all those areas and making sure we're putting our guys in the best position to make plays. And we looked at everything from what we're calling, when we're calling it, how many practice reps that we're running against the looks that they're seeing, trying to make it around 80-85% to make sure that we're giving them the looks that they're actually seeing in games and finding every way to make this team better. And I thought the coaches and the players both embraced it. This is still a really, really hungry football team that's getting better week by week. We're still a very young football team, which we embrace that. We don't run away from that. And I think we are getting better. Just how do we make that growth be speedier and happen sooner than later? So really encouraged about the work we put in this week, and we'll get ready for Ball State. We started them actually on last Thursday, but we'll get ready for the game with a couple practices here and get ready to go back into conference play. When you look at Ball State, a team that the record I don't think gives them enough credit. They're a 1-4 football team, but you look at who they played. They played Miami, who's a top 4 team, and then they played JMU, who's arguably one of the best teams in the G5 G5 league. So two teams that are very respectable, and those are the only two games where it kind of got out of hand. But every time you look at an opponent that's similar talent or a similar level, which we are similar talent to them, they've been right there with the chance to win or not or won the game. So they beat Missouri State to start the season off. Then they played Central Michigan and Western Michigan, by losing by just 3 points, and they had a shot at the end of the game. So like us, they're a team that record probably doesn't give them a true assessment of what they are as a football team. I think they're a talented football team with a lot of good players and coaches who are just trying to figure out how to finish a game and win it, and just like us. So like any MAC game, it's going to come down to how hard you play, your details. All teams in the league are coached well, and we've got to go out there. We've got to play well. We've got to be disciplined, learn from last game and correct some of our mistakes and give it our best shot. But a really good football team coming into town. Coach New does a phenomenal job. He's been there for a long time, since I was at Western Michigan. And the one thing you can always talk about as teams is they play extremely hard. And if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to take it from them. So we've got to be at our best come Saturday. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Rob, will you start first?
Sure. Thanks, Kellen. Coach, now that you've had time to kind of digest the Eastern game, offensively, were you encouraged? And what were some of the good things, that you saw when you guys reviewed the film?
Yeah, it was encouraging on offense for sure. When you look at it, our playmakers came out and played pretty well. You look at Krishan McCray, you look at Luke. Those guys went out there and they really were dominant in that football game. We didn't get enough stops, obviously. We didn't run the ball well enough to really win the game, and we turned the ball over. But when you look at it, there's a lot of encouraging things with guys playing fast, playing loose, and now just bringing the discipline side of it as well, and making sure you play loose and fast, but you play within the parameters of what we're asking you to do from a schematical teaching standpoint, and then from how you value the football. So I was encouraged by a lot of things, and the thing I love about our football team is it's a young, hungry football team. So they took what we gave them after the game and they ran with it. And like every game here on out, we should have a shot to go in and compete. And if we clean up the things that we're struggling with, we can get a win for sure.
Can you give us a little bit of a health update? How much has the bye week benefited you? And I'm assuming we'll have more bodies this week than you did last week.
Yeah, injuries. They need time. You need time to heal. We'll get a couple guys back for sure, but there's a couple guys still that'll be out. But when you look at it overall, we're a banged up football team. That's just a fact, and it's forced some of our youth to come up and play a little bit earlier than we wanted. But we're getting healthier. I think our athletic training is doing a great job in getting our guys healthy. But we're still battling some injuries here and there, at certain positions. But we're getting there for sure.
What specifically does Ball State do that has you concerned, that has you, that has your attention?
Well, they've got a really talented tight end. Their tight ends, I think, one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. You've got to know where he's at. They do a great job of hiding him and putting him in positions where he moves around everywhere, so you can never really, and I say hiding, meaning that they move him around, so you can never really get a grasp on where he's at. You know, he can play receiver, he could play tight end, you know, he can go in motion. He goes a lot of places, and it forces you to keep your eyes in really good spots, you know, and we've struggled a little bit with covering the tight ends up to this point, so we got to do a way better job, and we addressed that in the bye week with looking at what kind of coverages we're running and how we're deploying our pieces. But I think that's the big thing. They do a really good job of getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands and then getting the ball to their tight end. They got a redshirt freshman quarterback, and what I love about what Mike does with them is he doesn't put them in situations to really take the shot down the field. There are a lot of high percentage passes where the ball's in and out of his hands, and we got to do a good job of swarming to the ball and doing stuff like that. But I think they do a really good job of moving their pieces around to put them in advantageous situations on offense, and we've got to do a great job on defense of understanding that and being where we're supposed to be with their eyes.
Coach, my last one. I know you can't talk specifically, about kids recruiting, but can you just talk about, you and the staff going out this week and how encouraging was that, to get out there and get on the recruiting trail a little bit?
Yeah, like you said, can't talk about individuals much, but this is a very talented recruiting class we're bringing in, and we've got to hang on to them for sure. But this is, you put that class with the class we just signed, my first class, it's a talented back-to-back recruiting class, and I think you guys can see the class that we just brought in, how talented it is with the freshmen that are playing right now. They're all impacting the game in a positive way. With this group we just saw, it's probably just as good, if not better, than the class we just signed. So we got to keep hanging on these guys, building relationships, and we're selling our brand, and we were out there doing that this week. I think recruiting is the number one thing. We talk about cultural rebuilds, and that's what we're doing here, getting guys to buy into what we're selling. And what we're selling is this idea of investing in you, which I think is not very common right now in college football. 4-year investment into your life and making sure you obtain a meaningful degree and a championship on the football field. And I think parents are gravitating to it, and so are recruits. And it was exciting to get back around those guys and watch them play in their element, which is what our coaching staff did. And we were not disappointed at all. You guys can look at the numbers and the highlights and the stuff. Most people follow our recruiting class. It's a very talented group. So it was encouraging for sure to see those pieces and how they're going to fit with what we already got here.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach, I noticed that you opened the playbook up a little bit. Is that a product of the opponent, or is that a product of the maturation of the offense at this point?
That's probably a little bit of both, honestly. When you look at it, I think this opponent created a little bit more. We felt like we had some matchup advantages. In other games up to this point, it's probably been a little bit difficult to find some matchup advantages when you're playing teams that are top ranked teams. And I think Pitt still, even they're undefeated, still 5-0 right now. So really talented football teams that took away, some guys for us, and we didn't have matchups that we wanted at other positions. But this team gave us more advantages or equal thereof of matchups where our guys could go out there and play loose and fast and be aggressive, and we find ways to give them the ball. I think that's one. I think the other one is I think our guys I always say this, as an offensive team and defensively, you're finding out what your football team can do all year long. You come in with one idea that you're going to do this, that the numbers show this, that you're having success against your defense or your offense doing this, and you think that's what you're going to major in. And then as the year goes on, you start to find out that, I might be a little bit better in this. And I always tell our coaches to take in what they're telling you. Don't ignore the data that you're getting from our players. They're telling you what they can do. And I thought Coach Kenni and the offensive staff did a really good job of doing that and looking at what these guys did well up to the first 4 games and building a pretty good game plan against EMU to give us a chance to win. And we got to do that on both sides of the ball. And we spent a lot of time this bye week looking at that to make sure that we're putting our guys in the best situation to make plays and also recognizing what they can do and what they can't do. And I think that, again, offensively, we just got to keep growing in that area for sure.
Coach, you went into last week's game as one of the least penalized teams in the country, and the penalty bug bit you a little bit. Is that an anomaly after looking at the film, or is that are there some things to clean up there?
It's a little bit of both, and I hate saying that, but it's an anomaly. A couple of them I was kind of, I'm not going to get fine. I'm not going to get fined, so I'm not going to talk about the official. But I might not agree with the call, but it was the right call that they made in that moment. But there was some that I told the team, and it's a hard line because I think the first thing you want when you're again making a cultural rebuild is you want discipline, and you want the form of discipline, and that might keep guys in a bunch and where they don't play loose at times because they're trying to be a disciplined football team. And I think what we learned after the first 3 games is that okay, we are becoming disciplined, and guys are doing their job more consistently than what we were last year. I know they weren't getting the results, but I kept telling them to stay true to the process. Well, last week, as we got into conference play, which was planned, I told him, I said, okay, now I want you to play really loose. Okay, I want you to take your discipline enough. Now go play extremely loose, play fast, play aggressive, and cut it loose within the parameters of what we were telling you to do. And we saw guys do that, but they cut it loose and they played aggressive, but they probably played a little too aggressive at times. And now it's about bringing it back in and finding that happy medium of it. And you look, we got some pass interference calls where guys are breaking on the ball, and I can live with aggressive penalties. But now, how do we clean that up moving forward? So, you're not too fast to the break point. You're not, holding on too long at O-line, stuff like that. So it's a little bit of both. But the things that I told our team, the only thing that bothers me is not an aggressive penalty, but a procedure penalty. When you're not mentally locked into something, you jump off sides, or you get a false start, or you're legally aligned, or you're too far in the backfield, if you got one of those. Like, those are things that we can control, and like we can control that. That's what I call a no talent issue. It takes no talent to figure that part out. So we address both of them, and we always have some sort of punishment for our penalties. So they paid the price for that, but we'll clean that stuff up moving forward. And like I said, I don't want them not playing aggressive. They got to play aggressive, but it's also playing discipline while you're playing aggressive. And I don't think you can do one without the other.
And lastly, for me, Coach Will stepped in and handled the kicking duties. He looks like he's got every bit of a live leg as what you had before. How you feeling about Will and your confidence level in the kicking game?
Yeah, I think Will did a great job, and we talked about a lot as a football team. This new landscape of college football, there's going to be a lot of individual decisions that are made that are best for that student athlete. And I've got a ton of respect for Andrew Glass and what he did here for Kent State. He made this place a better football program. There's no doubt about it. And he made a decision for him that was best for him. And we talked through it, and he made sure I understood why. And I support him in his decisions. Like I said, he did everything he could for Kent State, and I wish him nothing but the best moving forward. And I wish all our kids nothing but the best moving forward when they do it the right way. And Andrew did it the right way. But I always say this: when one man steps away, it's another man's opportunity. And I thought Will went in there and did a great job with his opportunity. He put the ball in the end zone several times, probably more than we've seen up to this point. And he really did a good job. So hopefully he takes advantage of the opportunity he gets and finishes this year off the right way. He definitely solidified himself as our starting kicker, and he's done a great job up to this point. And honestly, when this happened, I rely on Coach Morgan a lot with the specialists. When Andrew left, Coach Morgan was right away. I have 110% confidence in Will and what he could do. So really impressed with him, and the future looks bright for him and for our football team in that area.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Yep. I'll make a real quick here to finish it off. But I want to thank our fans for the last game coming out and showing up. That was awesome. And really want to encourage you to come back out this week. It really makes a big difference. And our student body has been phenomenal up to this point. And we need you. We need you for the rest of this year. And I know you're looking at the results a little bit and maybe getting discouraged, but stay true to the process and trust us in the process. And it's not about Coach Burns. It's not about the players, but it's about this football program and having pride in it. So really big thanks to that. And then I want to finish by just thanking, I don't know if anyone knows, but Dan Griffin is moving on, head of our media relations here, and done a phenomenal job. And want to thank Dan on behalf of our football program for all he did in his time here. We really, really appreciate him. Miss him. Going to miss him dearly. Not only was he just a good ambassador for our athletic department, but a good ambassador for our football program. So wish him nothing but the best moving forward, and go Flashes, Kent Grit. Thanks.